Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Treasure Guest Show. My name is Greg McIntyre, and this is a show that is dedicated to all things Disney, including some of those a-hole guests that some Disney cast members call treasured guests. Now, for those of you who don't know what or who cast members are or Disney cast members are, this is a term Disney applies to their theme park employees who are responsible for maintaining the magic in the parks and making your visit as magical as possible. Though, just like in any corporation, there may be a few not so magical employees or a few bad apples among the bunch. Most of them are fantastic people. So please do us a favor when you're in the parks, do not give the cast members a hard time. They're really just trying to do everything they can to make your day magical and as happy as can be. And if you end up giving them crap or if you end up being an a hole to them, then they may call you a treasured guest. Now to kind of go along with that, now not every guest that goes into the theme parks can be as awesome as myself, or I'm assuming you who are watching this episode. Um, so some of those people who are difficult or give cast members crap, or people who get arrested or kicked out of the parks, sometimes the Disney cast members, in a funny wordplay, will call those people treasured guests. So these people are like everybody in between, the assholes, the motherfuckers, the Karens, every rotten apple in between. So, even though, all of us are treasured guests at one point, please don't be a treasured guest on, when you go to the parks. And that is what this show is all about. So each week I will kind of give you an article or I will show you a person who is a quote unquote treasured guest in a bad way, and then kind of give you their story about how they either got kicked out of the parks or what happened to them, things of that nature. So it's kind of this show is a little bit different than your traditional Disney shows. So here we go. So this week's treasured guest comes to us actually from Inside the Magic. So Inside the Magic is a Disney fan based media, thing and social media thing. And this came to them from June 26, 2022, when a married couple, went to Disney's Animal Kingdom in Walt Disney World. And they ended up having to deal with authorities after a physical altercation ended in arrest. So, according to an arrest warrant that was obtained by the Orange County Circuit Court, Deputy Sheriff Robert McMullen, while working off duty, so I must suck to work off duty and then have to deal with this stuff. But anyway, this was in Deputy Sheriff McCullen's report. So while seated in my agency issued marked patrol car at the front of the security checkpoint at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park, I observed a black female later identified as Asia Curry, who was the defendant, hit a black male later identified as Danta or Dainta Curry, who was the victim, with an open hand in the back of his head. The couple then proceeded to argue with each other. I then separated the two parties and spoke with them separately. I spoke to Danta, who advised me of the following. He was spending the day in the animal kingdom with his wife, Asia, and other couples' children when they began to argue verbally about marital issues related to the stress of their vacation to Disney World. Um, and then he then goes on to saying is that after putting the children in the car, Asia proceeded to curse and scream at him. Danta walked away from Asia in an attempt to end the argument. Asia then continued to follow him, spitting at him, and then as he walked away in the direction of my patrol car. While walking up to the patrol car, Asia then slapped him with an open hand in the back of his head, at which point parties were separated and spoke with Orange County deputies. I then spoke to Asia, who stated the two had gotten into an argument over their marital issues while putting their children into the car in the Animal Kingdom parking lot. Um, so evidently they had been married for 6 years. They had no other incidents of domestic violence in their relationship. Ms. Curry refused to fill out any domestic violence paperwork, and Mr. Curry stated he did not want to press criminal domestic violence battery against his wife. However, due to the incident and the nature of the arrest, Mrs. Curry was arrested and then detained for striking her husband and transported to the Orange County Jail. Luckily, the four children did not witness the incident that happened, but I'm sure they did not have a good time when they saw their mommy getting, you know, um, going to a police station. Miss Curry was trespassed from all Walt Disney World properties by a management representative. All right, so couple thoughts on this one. So, one, Disney World can be very stressful, right? I mean, to anybody who has ever gone and planned a Disney World trip, we know it is very stressful, and part of that is Disney. You got to do park reservations now. You got to pick out your dining reservations 180 days in advance. Some people it's their first time ever going, and so there's just a lot of things going on that are stressful. But I don't think it should ever get to the point where physical violence is necessary, especially when you got children. And now that it said that the children didn't witness the incident, but they had to have been aware of mommy and daddy like arguing, right? So I mean that couldn't have been good to witness. Um, but yeah, so unfortunately, for Asia, there she is now trespassed from all of the Walt Disney parks. And if there's one thing you don't want to be in this world, it's being trespassed from Disney parks because I know on many occasions they will give you a lifetime ban. So that may have been their first and probably only trip that they've ever will go to Disney World or probably Disneyland or any Disney park there. So now I know sometimes Disney will like hear, they'll make appeals and they'll hear cases one by one, and then the famous YouTuber out there, Adam the Woo. If you've never seen him, check him out. He does a lot of travel stuff and Disney stuff, but he was actually trespassed from the Disney parks as well for actually going to Discovery Island, which Discovery Island it used to be a old like wildlife thing that was between Fort Wilderness and Magic Kingdom, and it shut down, I think, back in like the 80s or 90s. But you always see it when you take a boat from the resorts to the Magic Kingdom there. And he just decided one day, screw it, I'm just gonna, put on a swimsuit and then swim my way over there at like midnight. And then he actually documented on YouTube, and then Disney kicked him out and banned him. But luckily for him, he was able to get reinstated. So anyway, thanks for Inside the Magic for that article. Don't be like Asia or her husband, and that is your treasured guest for this episode. All right. So, for the next part of the show, what I kind of wanted to do is I kind of wanted to do something fun. So, obviously, this is part one or episode one of this treasured guest show on the YouTube. And I know most of you don't know me, right? I mean, some of you may know me from the Take Warning Network, which I'm obviously a part of. Take Warning Network is kind of like our mothership network where we have a whole bunch of different shows, Disney being one of them. So obviously, go ahead and check out all of the shows on the Take Warning Network. But for me, a lot of people are like, "Who's this guy? Is he just another Disney fan, or what does he know?" Things of that nature. And so what I kind of wanted to do is just kind of play a round of 20 questions or so. Hopefully they're brief. And then just to kind of let you know a little bit more about me. So hopefully this is fun. Hopefully this is quick and not boring. But if you have any, thoughts in the comments, or if you have different responses of your own or comments of your own, please comment down below. Obviously subscribe and ring that bell as well. So anyway, here we go. So Walt Disney World or Disneyland? Uh, so this one's a tough one, but I am going to have to go with Disney World. It actually is much more expansive than Disneyland. Now, for all you haters out there, don't hate on me. I am actually a Disneyland Magic Key holder, so obviously I do partake in Disneyland as well. But I think I overall prefer Walt Disney. So, how many times have I gone to or how many times have I been to either Disneyland or Disney World? So I'd probably say Disneyland. Shoot, I originally came from California. I live in Vegas now. I've got to say I've been to Disneyland well over 20, 30 plus times, if not more. And in Walt Disney World, at least 15 or so. And we go about once a year because we're actually DVC members. So we are definitely well versed in the Disney parks. Um, Now, what is my favorite theme park in Walt Disney World and Disneyland? So, going to Disney World, I'd have to say Epcot. Epcot is more of an adult-oriented theme park, and they're doing a lot of construction, a lot of upgrades over there. So, Epcot's probably my favorite. Magic Kingdom does come in a close second, and then in Disneyland, is there really a choice? I mean, it's Disneyland, right? Like, who wants to go to California Adventure? I mean, people go there for, Radiator Springs Racers, and then some people may go see Avengers Campus for half a day, but come on, Disneyland, the OG, that's where it's at. Um, so if I had to pick a favorite ride, what's my favorite ride right now at both theme parks? So I would have to say right now, because I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, Rise of the Resistance. So I really like that ride. I understand that it goes down a lot because of the technology, but I think that ride is just phenomenal for now. And I have a lot of favorite rides, don't get me wrong. So that may change like next week, but for now, that's kind of my pick. Um, favorite restaurants in Disney World and Disneyland. So at Walt Disney World, I have a few of them. So I like 50s Primetime Cafe that's over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Homecoming, which is at Disney Springs. Flying Fish is also another fantastic one over at the boardwalk. And I know this restaurant gets a lot of flack, but in Disneyland, I have to say Blue Bayou, man. It's just something about the aesthetics there. I know it's extremely dark. Nobody can read the menu unless you got your flashlight out, light out. But there's just something about Blue Bayou, man. That Monte Cristo sandwich. Now I know you can get it, around the corner. That's not table service, but I don't know, just something about the Blue Bayou I like. Um, favorite snacks. So obviously everybody loves churros. Me and my wife are actually privy to funnel cakes. But those are kind of hard to find in some of the parks. And then when I'm in Disneyland, I always have to get a corn dog. Their corn dogs are fantastic. Not really a popcorn guy or a popcorn bucket guy, but those are kind of my top picks for there. And then um, am I a DVC member yet? So obviously I said this earlier, but yes, we are DVC members, and our current resorts are Saratoga Springs and Alani. Um, what is my favorite DVC resort? So it has to be Alani. If you guys ever get the opportunity to go to Alani in Hawaii and Ko'olina, highly recommend it. Alani is by far probably the most beautiful hotel I have ever been at, and Hawaii is just amazing in general, right? So hands down has to be Alani. Um, have I ever been on a Disney cruise? Yes. If so, what is my Castaway Club level? So it is silver for right now, which sucks, but slowly working my way up. Done two Disney cruises, been both on the Dream and the Wonder, and I love Disney cruises. If you ever get to do a Disney cruise, doesn't matter if you're, with family, if you're, adults, no kids, by yourself, you're gonna have a good time on a Disney cruise. They do an excellent job there. Have I ever done an Adventures by Disney vacation? No. However, we do have one planned for next year, so hopefully that still goes through. Um, now, what is my favorite Disney entity? So, I guess what I mean by that is, is it Disney? Is it Disney Parks? Is it Marvel? Is it Star Wars? Um, I am more privy to the Disney parks, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan and a huge Marvel fan to boot. So, that's like the trifecta for me. I love them all. Going on the Star Wars, what are my favorite Star Wars characters? So I would say Darth Maul and Boba Fett, but the old school Boba Fett. Nobody likes the new Boba Fett. And the book of Boba Fett was kind of meh until the final episodes. Not going to spoil that. And then I'm really loving the Bad Batch, which season 2 is starting here very shortly. So looking forward to that. Favorite Marvel characters. So I am a huge Spider-Man fan. But even I'm also a fan of the villains, right? And my favorite all-time Marvel character is Carnage, who is obviously Spider-Man's worst villain, worst enemy. So Carnage is like my all-time character, but Spider-Man is a close, 1.5 or number 2. I love them both. Um, so how long when you go to either Walt Disney World or Disneyland for vacation, how long should you stay at each resort? I would say at Walt Disney World, I would at least stay a week. Um, Walt Disney World is huge. There's 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, a shopping district, and you're not just going to be able to do that in a weekend, right? Unless if you live close by and have season passes. But go there at least for a week. Like I said, I've been to Disney World countless times, and I still haven't seen everything in Disney World, and the same thing applies to Disneyland at that. But for Disneyland, I would say about a good 3 to 4 days. Now, Disneyland, obviously, it's a lot smaller. There's only 2 theme parks there, but a good like 3 to 4 days, you can get a lot in those days. Um, so what is the best advice I have for touring the parks? So if you actually stay on Disney property, then take advantage of early entry. Now, what early entry is that you can get 30 minutes early into the theme parks. Um, so definitely take advantage of that. But if not, you definitely want to be early for rope drop. So what rope drop is at the very beginning of each morning. They will actually let guests in like a line, what used to be like a rope. Sometimes they still have the rope out there or not. But you definitely want to be one of the first ones in the park. So if you're not going to do early entry, or even if you do early entry, I would say get there at least 30 minutes, get to the gates at least 30 minutes prior to the early entry time, and then about 45 minutes to an hour prior to regular park opening if you're not taking part in early entry. And then what you do in those early hours is knock out as much stuff as you can. You would be surprised the amount of rides and the amount of attractions that you can get knocked out in the first like 2 3 hours of the day. Because if you think about it, most people they're on vacation, right? They like to sleep in a little bit. Most people don't get to the parks until about 10 or 11. So you can knock out if the parks open up at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and you don't really got to worry about the crowd until about 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock or so. You could probably get about 5 to 7 attractions done in that time. So do that, and then when the crowds start to fill up, then go back to your hotel. Do lunch, do nap, take advantage of the pools, and then come back later in the day. That's always the best strategy, especially in the summertime, especially in Florida and that heat and humidity, which can be brutal. And then also, they're not a sponsor, obviously, but I love those guys. Check out touring plans. So, touring plans is cheap, but they can actually, they have these pre set up things called touring plans, or you can make one of your own where they will actually tell you where to go in the park from attraction to attraction to attraction and tell you, the most efficient way and the ability to knock out all the stuff you want to do with the quickest amount of time. So definitely check them out. They're awesome. Um, Next question. So, most overrated things in the parks. For me, I would say the parades. Like, I am not a parade guy. Sorry, guys. I'm just not. I'm just not a fan of having to wait an hour or two to pick a spot for the parade that only lasts a few minutes. Um, I would rather skip the parades and then go ride on rides because while most people are trying to, wait in line for the parade, the lines tend to be a little bit shorter. So take advantage of that. Just be strategic with it because obviously during the parades they got avenues blocked off and cast members are out there with ropes, guarding the pathways and stuff. So be careful with that. But yeah, skip the parade and go on the rides. And then except for Halloween, if you do like the Halloween party or the Halloween events, those parades are awesome. Um Genie Plus. Ooh, that's a favorite one. Do you pay for Genie Plus? I have, and it's okay, right? I mean, it depends really on how busy the day is, but if you follow my strategy above, then you shouldn't really need to spend your money on Genie Plus. Now, maybe the only exception to that is if you're doing the lightning lane, the individual lightning lanes like Rise of the Resistance, Cars Land, um, like the Avatar ride in Disney World, things of that nature, like really those like really really busy rides, then yeah, I mean, you may want to do it, but just know that you're going to want to make those reservations early in order for you to secure that spot. And sometimes those things can range anywhere between I think like $8 to over $30 to get those individual lightning lane subscriptions. So um I would just say get to the park early, take advantage of a touring plan or at least get there early to take care of much rides that you can and then come back later and then you don't need to worry about Genie Plus. How about Disney Plus? Am I a subscriber? Yeah, but at this time, who isn't, right? I think everybody I know in my circle and anybody I've ever met in my life is a subscriber to Disney Plus. Shoot, I think my mom is even a subscriber to Disney Plus. Are you a D23 member? Yes, I am. And actually my thing is subject to renew here next week. Um, so, how can we know more about us in the show? So, I already kind of talked about it. You can find us on YouTube, on Take Warning Network. There, all of our shows will be there, especially this one. And then obviously, you can follow us on social media. So, We are going to increase our presence on social media. There will be different social media outlets there. So check them out here or here, wherever we put them. And then you can email us at takewarningpod.com, and then let us know your thoughts. And then obviously comment down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the 20 questions or what you think of the treasured guest. Um, yeah. So, thank you guys for joining us today. And I will see you on the next episode with the next treasured guest. Have a good one, everyone.